Hello, friends. I'm Kerry Farr. Welcome to In Your Corner. My boxing buddies are back today. To my immediate right, Don Hale, former boxing manager, managed Frankie Randall when he beat the great Julio Cesar Chavez. Trained Floyd Mayweather as an amateur as well, right?
I wasn't a trainer, but I got him in shape.
You got him in shape. That's what a trainer does.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was my job.
Jonathan Reid, who was one of the original Contender cast on the cast of the Contender on NBC, and fought William Joppy for the middleweight championship of the world. To my left, Keith McKnight, former heavyweight Contender. To his left, Jerome Coffee, great fighter, fought Jeff Fennick for, what was that, the bantamweight championship of the world?
Yes.
And Kenny Saylors, they call him Two-Ton Kenny. That's right. Kenny, you're a filmmaker, and we're doing this thing called Reinventing Kenny. Let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about Reinventing Kenny today.
Wow. I'm sitting here with all these great boxers, have all these great stories, and then here starting with me. Well, obviously, I'm not a wafer-thin guy. I'm trying to lose about 200 pounds and get to my fighting weight. And Kerry's come out of retirement to give me a hand, and so is Keith over here. These guys have been wearing me out.
That's right.
And so over the next year, created a thing called Reinventing Kenny, where I'm going to learn to, I want to learn to be a fighter, but also lose all the weight. Not that I'm going to get in the ring, win any, championships or anything, but I'm doing it just to show that anybody at any age can get in there. And boxing is one of the most tough, disciplined sports that you can that you can ever do. And so that's kind of, and these guys are whooping me into shape, and I'm hoping these guys are going to come out and get in the ring with me.
Yeah,
and help
we
me out
can't
too.
wait. That's right. Can't wait to get these guys involved. Well, fellas, I tell you what we'll do today. We're going to talk boxing today, folks. And I'm going to start with a story, and then we'll go around the table and let the guys tell one of their favorite or most bizarre boxing stories. Believe me, you haven't heard nothing if you haven't heard some boxing stories. So I'm working a 10-round fight with one of the guys from our gym in Memphis, Tennessee. His name was Timmy. We called him Scrap Iron Johnson. He's fighting 10-round main event. He's fighting a guy by the name of David Bates out of Odessa, Texas. And so they're out there scrapping in the first round, and Timmy gets a headbutt. And he comes back to the corner of the ring, and he looks at me and says, "Kerry," he said, "that joker just headbutted me." I said, "Timmy, it was probably an accident. Just be cool. Box." "No, man, I'm going to get him back. I'm going to get him back when the bell rings." So the bell rings, and Timmy runs across the ring, and just like a billy goat, hits that guy, headbutts that guy just as hard as he can. And the problem is he split his own skull open instead of the other guy. Messed around, he won the 10-round decision, but I had to pay the price. We spent all night long in the emergency room with him getting staples in his head. Don, I'll go to you. Tell us a boxing story.
Boy, where do you start?
That's right. You got him.
I guess there's so many different ones and I enjoyed a lot of the fights of guys that weren't contenders. I remember Porter Mayberry. Porter Mayberry was always 170 pounds, should have been 140, 148. And Porter Mayberry is losing every round of fight. We're down in Florida, and he was from Grand Rapids, and Joey Stevenson was from Lansing, Michigan, so they're an hour away, but we're fighting down in Florida. And when at one point there's snot coming out of Stevenson's nose, and he hits him. There's a woman sitting on the front row.
We've all seen this.
With a big stone in her purse, and just splats that woman. But the exciting part then is Porter then, and like the eighth or ninth round, he knocks Joey Stevenson cold. We win the fight. And the excitement of those sort of fights that you don't see on TV. They're preliminary fights. They're not big fights. They don't mean a whole lot to anybody but you and that fighter. And you enjoy those.
Those are the hungry guys, though. They want to get to the main event,
You love those sort of stories. So sometimes those are more fun than when Frankie Randall. Well, no, it's still not when Frankie Randall beat Chavez as a 17-1 underdog.
And you get split $1 million. Yeah, that's hard to beat, wouldn't it?
The thing about that is I kept telling all the people that I played basketball with at the gym and at work, I said, Frankie's got a 50-50 shot of winning this fight, and the odds are 17-1, and they'd give me $100. I went back to Grand Rapids with like over $50,000 that I started handing out to people that had given me $100 to bet on Frankie Randall in that fight.
Is that right?
Yeah, had over $50,000 in my pocket. Employees and people at the gym. I was a star in Grand Rapids.
Can you do one in retrospect?
Well, I don't think
I ever got my cut on there.
Jay Reid, tell us something funny or serious that happened in your career.
Well, I was in the gym in Laverne when my coach and I had made the transition from the Police Athletic League to come to Laverne. I was in the ring.
Excuse me, our gym.
Yes.
Come to our gym. Yeah, that's right.
I was in the ring moving around with that young man sitting right there to your left, Keith McKnight. I said, man, this dude is tall. Everybody knows, of course, I come from a martial art background. So I'm moving around the ring, and I said, damn, every time I move, that something just takes one step, and it's like I'm in the corner. I was in the corner one time, and I was like, oh boy. I wasn't able to move anymore. I said, he's coming. He's going to throw a right hand. So Keith had his body moved like he was getting ready to throw the right hand. I remember throwing a heel kick. I said, oh! I sort of stopped the kick in the air, and I didn't hold my leg up here, but I stopped it to the point where I didn't hit him. I said, oh. I said, my bad, man. And the whole gym just busted out laughing. And somebody said, man, this ain't no karate gym. This is a boxing gym. I said, man, I ain't had nothing else to do. I didn't get him
Resort to what you know.
Go ahead, Keith. Tell us something.
I think the one that gets me is when we fought at Terre Haute, Indiana. And I think I was maybe 8-0, getting a little big head. And we fought a guy that was lower weight than me. And I remember going out and I said, I'm just going to knock this guy out. And I walked out and I was just banging with this guy. And he hit me with a right hand. And this guy, I outweighed him by 15, 20 pounds. And he hit me with a right hand, man. And, shook me up. And that's when I came back to the corner. And I remember you telling me, you can't fight like that. You can't fight like that. And I went out and boxed him and wound up knocking him out later in the fight. But that's when I realized that you got to take everybody serious, Yeah. I thought for sure I could just walk out and knock this guy out. That joker hit me, boy, hard. And that's when I realized, stick to the plan. Mm-hmm. Stick to the plan.
Who hit you the hardest? Phil Jackson?
Phil Jackson, probably, yeah. My mama hit me the hardest, but Phil Jackson. In the ring, yeah, Phil Jackson for sure.
Oh, man, that joker could hit.
Oh, he could hit,
He had Lennox Lewis on Queer Street before you fought him.
Yeah, well, I joined him.
Yeah.
I joined him on that street.
Yeah. I mean, he could
hit. What's crazy, though, is that we trained, he's knocking everybody out with the left hook. So we trained the whole training camp to move away from the left hook. But he knocked me down with 2 right hands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, he knocked you down twice in the second round, and you got up and boxed his ears off. Yeah. Probably because you didn't want to get hit with that again.
At all.
And beat him in a 10-round decision.
At all. Every time he got close, I was like an octopus. I was grabbing him. I was dancing with him. I was loving on him. I wasn't letting him go.
And what you said right there, going back to the Floyd Mayweather fight and a Nashville fighter, Terrence Criswell. Yeah. And they fought in amateurs here in Nashville at Stratford High School. And Terrence hit Floyd in the 3rd round with a big shot. And Floyd came back the corner. I said, well, you ready to start boxing again? Don, he ain't gonna hit me again.
Yeah.
Because that's you don't take these particularly guys that can punch.
You can't.
You can't take them lightly because one punch can end the fight.
Yeah.
Like I say, I knew for sure I was gonna whack this guy no problem because he was smaller than me. But when he hit me upside the head, it was just, I could just hear it ringing, and you get that tunnel vision, then it comes back to you. Mm-hmm. I knew I'm sticking to the game plan from here on out.
Yeah. Now, that guy sitting next to you knew how to box too.
Oh, right.
This guy right here could hit and run too. Jerome, tell us something in your career that was funny. Tell us the Pendleton story.
Yeah, I remember my first 8-rounder. Stan Allen was my manager, and he worked my corner from time to time. And they brought Don Hale brought a guy in.
Now, let me just say, Don Hale's the guy that got Don King started in boxing.
Started Don King. He brings in a guy the morning of the fight, and he tells me, "Don't worry about anything. This kid, you got no problem with this kid. You'll have him out of there probably before the fight's over." And so I say to him, "Well, what's his name?" He said his name. I said, where's he from? Don't worry about that. I said, what do you mean don't worry about it? Where's he from? And he wouldn't tell me where he was from. Yeah. And I got concerned because he wouldn't tell me where he was from. And finally, he I said, well, I'm not going to fight the guy if you're not going to tell me where he's from. Well, he's from Philadelphia. Well, where is a fighter?
The roughest fight
do you
town
know
in the
any
world?
fighter that can't fight? The guy
they
that
throw left
serves the
hooks
food.
in the alley fighting there.
Yeah, the guy that serves the food at the restaurant can fight. So sure enough, we get on the scales. He's 15 pounds heavier, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I fighting this guy? But I'm the main event, and I got to fight him. Nobody else to fight, so I take the fight. It's my first 8 round. I fight the guy, I beat him, but it was a war. And I tried to make sure he didn't hit me because every time he threw a shot at me, he'd grunt. And he just missed. And he finally caught me in the 8th round with just a grazing shot, open up a cut, a 4th stitch cut. And thank God I survived the first 7 rounds without getting touched. Because if he'd have found me earlier, who's to say what would have happened?
Now, L-Bomb's telling you this guy's a bum, you're not going to have any trouble. And this guy ends up being... The very next year, he knocks Roger Mayweather out for the championship of the world at the weight division that I fought him at. Yeah, supposed to be...
Yeah.
Right. He ends up being a world champion, and you beat him. That just shows what a great boxer you were to beat Freddie Pendleton, because he was a killer.
He was a good fighter. He really was.
Yeah. Kenny, tell us about one of your great fights.
Oh, yeah. Well, the fight against my waistline.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, because you have lost at one time or another 130 pounds.
Yeah, so I was up to almost 500 pounds actually about 2 years ago, and I lost 130 pounds before even getting on the journey now of reinventing Kenny, and then I gained back about 40. And that's when I was like, I need to do something. I've always been an athlete. I love sports. I love boxing. That's why I love hearing the stories and the guys who lived it and all this stuff. It's like I sit here and just listen all day long. It's really cool. I was like, and so that's why whenever I was like, man, I really need to do something extreme to lose weight, to really, because I did a film a long time ago about me going on a 55-day water fast, and it became quite a popular film. So I got a lot of people that follow me from that. And so I kind of went online and saw the social media people, pretty brutal out there. and I was like, man, you're right. I need to do something. So that's when I got in touch with Kerry and we decided to go down. I was like, I really, boxing is just such an intense sport. Such a great sport. And I had no idea it was going to go into what it's become now. And so, I mean, just sitting here it's an honor to sit here at the table with all you guys who've done so much in the history of boxing, and that's the thing about boxing. It has such a rich history to it, and it's so part of our culture. And sometimes I think people don't even realize what an integral part of our culture has been. I know for my brother and I growing up, I mean, we were from the Tyson and Holyfield era, man. I mean, those were the guys that we were just like, whoa, we'd watch those 30-second Tyson fights. I mean, and so it's just, but I just want to say it's a real honor to be here with you guys. You guys all have done some amazing things in boxing, and I think it's cool just to share the table and be on the screen with you. Hey, what's up?
Some of the best times I spent with my mother was watching boxing.
You and her watched fights
when I was a child. She loved Marvin Hagler. So he became my favorite fighter, but she didn't miss the fights. We watched. We'd lay in the bed and watch them.
It was the only sport my dad ever liked was boxing.
Yeah.
Well, there was a time when it was a glorious sport, man.
Well, if you were the heavyweight champion, you were the man.
Yeah.
So it was 8 weight divisions, right?
My dad loved Carmen Basilio, and I said one of my thrills in boxing was meeting Carmen Basilio.
Right.
And I told him, as my dad, if you fought, we watched, we listened if we could. I said, you were his favorite fighter. And he says, he's still alive. And I said, yes. He said, we'll get him on the phone. So I called my dad up, and Carmen said he wanted to know what his name was. And I told him, he says, is this Gene Hale? My dad says, yes. He said, this is Carmen Basilio, and I hear you want to whoop my... But that was a thrill to be about some of those old fighters. And my dad loved Floyd Patterson.
Right.
But Basilio had those fights with Ray Robinson, right?
Exactly, yep.
Let me ask you guys a question. What about Ray Robinson and Ray Leonard and Floyd Mayweather? What do you guys think?
Well, I love Floyd Mayweather, so I'm going to say Floyd
Yeah, you
Mayweather.
know what you're going to say, right? You race Floyd.
Yeah, you know what?
Well, let's go to Jerome. Jerome, you watch the old, the first fight I ever remember seeing was Ray Robinson, Gene Fullmer when I was a kid.
Well, Ray Robinson was he was who Muhammad Ali wanted to be, and so he was just a giant Ray Robinson, or he was attempting to be anyway, because Ray Robinson could do it all. He was sweet like sugar, they called him, and so he was always exciting to watch. But if you wanted to be a boxer, you wanted to be Ray Robinson.
Yeah.
And so that was the guy you wanted to emulate.
Yeah, he was
Let me ask,
special.
and we'll just talk, guys. But I want to ask you a question, and we'll just go around the table here and talk. Jerome, you were on arguably, now that my buddies over in Fort Worth will say differently, but arguably the best amateur boxing team in America at one time. Tell us a little bit about that team.
Well, I was blessed enough in 1976. I graduated from high school. 2 months after graduation, Sheriff Faith Thomas was hosting a boxing crew, and he brought in a guy named Clinton Jackson,
The captain of the 1976 Olympic team.
who was the captain of the team. Him and Ray Leonard, they were captain and co-captain, and those guys, they were amazing. I was just amazed at how talented they were. But the sheriff, he had this team, and he let me come aboard. And when I got started with them, I thought to myself, this is amazing. I got to make this happen. So I won my first national title 4 months after joining the team, and then of course 4 more after that. But I'm telling you,
Tell us who all was on the team.
I had stablemates, Clint Jackson, Johnny Bumpus, Mike McCallum. You had the Sorrell brothers. You had Donald Bowles. You had just.
But who could fight? I mean, the local guys couldn't fight against any of those guys.
No.
There were two. Those were international caliber fighters.
Yeah.
We were traveling the world. It was the most amazing time in amateur boxing back then, because as soon as you won your first national title, the first thing they ask you is, do you have a passport? And certainly I didn't even know what that was. And so, I came from the project. What is that? So sure enough, they got me a passport, and I got to see the world. So the most exciting part for me was that because I could box, they allowed me to see the world, and all I had to do was ball my fists up and win.
Yeah.
So that was exciting for me.
That's awesome.
Kenny, you're hearing all these stories. What are some of your favorite, thoughts going back in boxing?
Oh man. Well, like I said, I was that Mike Tyson era, and he was of course, I know it's funny, but when I was little, I mean, because he said here Jerome talking about getting out of high school in '76. I was born in '76, so it's like, and then he was actually talking about your last fight was '94. That's when you retired. Yes. That's when I got out of high school. So it's like
we have these different.
You're going to trade it for sure.
I got you.
But he looks older than me. You see.
He looks older than all of us.
Jonathan's not that old.
Yeah, I'm.
He's not that young
I'm
either.
47, man. I'll be 48 this year.
You don't look a day over 46.
That's what happens when you have.
That's the fraternity we have, isn't it? Everybody just picks on you.
Yes, that just means that they like you.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all
gym
love,
talk,
man. Yeah.
Well, Kenny's talking about Tyson. Let's talk about. All right, Mike Tyson or Tyson Fury?
Oh, Mike Tyson, yeah.
What do you guys think?
You talking about now?
Yeah, I'm talking about if they were in their prime. Who wins?
Oh, in their prime?
Yeah.
Tyson.
Tyson Fury is probably the best fighter right now, and probably even back then that could have ever did it, because he's so big and he knows how to use his size. That's what's got him really at the top, and he'll be there until he decides to lose focus.
Keith, you were saying something the other day that you didn't think Fury was all of that, right?
I don't think he's just so big. He's agile to be that big, but it's not really smooth, you know.
He got
But
off
it's
the
just,
run.
you know, I think he's good, but
You don't.
I don't
mean,
think
you
he beats.
would-
I don't think he beats a prime
What
Mike
is it?
Tyson.
270 pounds?
270,
Mike, what, fought about 220?
220.
Man,
Yeah.
that's 50 pounds.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's tough.
Riding on
But
him
it's how you
every
use
round.
it, you know.
Look what
throw
Tyson.
He can throw that jab, and
That's
that's
right.
a long jab.
It's a
Mike
long jab
will have
for
a
sure.
hard time
I
getting
mean,
by it.
he's,
If he
he's
gets
3,
by
4
it,
inches taller than
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and you way up there.
He's bigger than Lennox Lewis, and
Yeah.
Lewis had
Yeah.
no
Oh,
yeah.
trouble against him.
yeah.
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 But that was an old Tyson.
Yeah, well,
You know.
old
Lewis
Lennox
fought
Lewis
old
too.
Tyson.
Lewis is
Yeah.
older than Tyson.
Right.
And there's no question
But-
when Tyson
but
was
the
being
lifestyle.
trained by Customato and even Kevin Rooney, he had that style to where he was so low.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about Buster Mathis, Senior, and how Cuss trained them under a rope. Had put a rope across the ring and have them duck under it all
Yeah.
the way across the ring. And Mike, that's why he was so great at knocking people out, was
Sure.
because he had the power from his legs and his butt that he would come up and hit people. And then later in his career, when he didn't do that anymore,
Yeah.
he was easy pickings for guys.
Easy
That's right.
pickings.
That's right.
Well,
But you know that style doesn't work for everybody either.
That's exactly
no
what I
question.
mean?
No question.
There's a lot
I mean,
of them that
he-
tried it and it
but because
didn't work.
Mike was built for it.
Yeah.
You know, much more so than what Buster Mathis was.
Right.
Joe Frazier, would have been built for it.
yeah.
He would never get to Tyson Fury because Tyson just needs to stand tall.
Yeah.
How's he gonna hit him?
Yeah.
He's 6'9".
Oh, I know, it's unbelievable. Well, here's one that'll really get some controversy. And I know where Dan will stand on this one. Ray Leonard and Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Well, Ray Leonard was by far one of the most sound guys I think I've ever seen fight. Now, you know,
And you were friends with the Mayweathers too, yeah.
when you talk about Floyd, he's cut from a whole different cloth. I mean, he could do whatever he had to do, and his defense is so sound that it's an argument that he could beat anybody in any era that he fought in. But Ray Leonard had this thing that he could do that was amazing because he could always summons whatever he needed at the time he
even to
needed.
beat
Self-motivate.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Daryl Fuller said something to me one time, Jerome. He said, when Leonard turns them bumblebees loose, and that was it, man. When he turned them bumblebees loose, hey, I want to switch gears for just a minute. We've been talking boxing, and I want to, to point you people to Jesus Christ, and I think we got a great example here. This young man over here that Keith's been messing with, Jonathan Reid, picked up a pistol years ago and went into a store and did what? Or went into a restaurant, went into a Ponderosa and did what?
Went to a Ponderosa and robbed him. I told him, "This is a robbery. Don't make it no murder. Put the money in the bag." That was back in November of 1990.
Yeah.
I was fresh out of high school. I graduated from high school in May of the same year, May of 1990, and I was just hanging out with some guys and thought that was one of the things I needed to do to be a part of the group. Did that, man, and went to
Got a free vacation.
Yeah, got a vacation, man. Stayed in that mammoth gym for about 2.5, almost 3 years. I got out in September of 1993, and I walked into a boxing gym September 2nd of the same year on Douglas Avenue, the Police
Chaplain
Athletic League.
Douglas. Police Athletic Gym in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's right.
But while you were in jail, you became a Muslim, right? And then you were following that for a period of time, but
Right.
a number of years ago, you gave your life to Jesus Christ and now are a preacher of the gospel.
Yes, sir. I got my license to preach in May of 2014. I think I became a Muslim because at the time it seemed like they were the only religious group, so to speak, that was real about what they were saying. You know, sometimes while you being inside the institution, you would have other religious groups come in and say what they were going to do, how they were going to try to help you, but they never would follow through. The brothers in the Nation of Islam would always follow through. You know, if they said they was going to do this, they would do it. So
And that was attractive to you.
that's right.
Yeah.
And the militant style they had. My dad is a Marine, and I was like, that's pretty good. That reminds me of my dad.
Good fit.
Yeah, that's right.
But now you're sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Lord.
Amen.
Yeah, I at one time I wasn't being, my spirit wasn't being fed. And my dad recognized that we was driving from a karate class one day. He said, boy, what's wrong with you? Something not right. You just always seem angry. I said, I don't know. And I thought about it.
He could talk to you like that, couldn't he?
Yeah, he can talk to me like that. He talks to me like that now. You know, my dad's sick right now. He's got dementia, but you still you respect your parents. You know, I respect him, although he's sick, and I could get the best of him right now. But you know, he's my dad, and that respect that he earned. Yes. In the early part of the years, you know, you remember that, but. Yeah, Jesus is the way,
amen,
the truth, and the life.
Amen.
No man cometh to the Father but by me. Is that all right?
Amen. That's right. He's going to get to preaching. Folks, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and talk these guys into staying for one more program because we just haven't got enough boxing in. But before we go today, Jonathan said, you know, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. As John 14:6. There's only one way to heaven, and that's through Jesus Christ. The way of the cross leads home. Jesus Christ came to earth, died on a cruel cross to save you, to save me, to save this guy right here that picked up a pistol and robbed a restaurant, to save him from his sins. And if he can save Kerry Farr, Jonathan Reid, you know, Jerome Coffee, any of us, he can save you. So today, I invite you to ask Jesus Christ to come into your life. Just say, Lord, I realize I'm a sinner. Please forgive me my sins. Come into my life and save me. And he'll do it right now. He'll save you. And friends, if we can help you at all, I want you to just feel free to contact us. Our website information is below. Just, pick up the phone, give us a call, or send us an email and let us know that you have accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Fellas, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Don, I've got 30 seconds left. What would you like to say in closing? Any more boxing stories?
I can talk boxing all day, but, the thrill is when you hear the stories like Jonathan and the life change. You see the life, people's lives changed once they accept Christ. And in boxing, you don't see enough of it, but you do see it from time to time, too. And my brother leading Frankie Randall to the Lord. Those are exciting things to me that means more than any fight that you could ever win.
Yeah. Friends, thank you so much for tuning into the program. Today, we'll look forward to seeing you again next week on the next edition of In Your Corner.